guys? Welcome back to Strong Successful Mail. So for today, I'm going to read an email that was sent from a subscriber. This is from a guy, a young guy, he's only 21 years old, and he's writing in both for advice as well as to share his story. His story of how recently he ended things with his girlfriend, his train wreck of a girlfriend, after not only did she want to open things up, if you will, to go have her fun without him, but also she was hooking up with her stepdad. Yeah, he actually saw pictures and videos of these things. And of course, he's ending it with her. But our guy here, his situation is a little different. As, well, a lot of people's stories are different. He comes from a really screwed up family. Very poor, lots of problems where his one sister's in foster care because of his mom. His dad's not in the picture, no male guidance, and he's been doing the best he can. Well, he discovered that he wasn't very enthusiastic about where he was pursuing as a career or what he was going to school for. And he ended up dropping out, and the guy's been aimless. And when a guy is aimless, doesn't know what he wants, his self-esteem kind of tends to drop, and he got involved with this girl. And you'll see all the mistakes that he made when he's with her, because a guy without any self-worth can be taken advantage of. But ultimately, you're going to see, in the end, this guy's getting his life back together and is looking for help from me and all you guys to get him back on track. And I thought I'd be really going to go over here, guys, making the point how so important it is for men to really have goals, to have a purpose, to have something you're pursuing in life to better yourself. When a man doesn't have goals, when a man is just meandering around aimless in life without any weight, any direction, that will impact his self-worth. Really, it will. And when a man has low self-worth, self-esteem, he can be very susceptible to be taken advantage by other people. And there are a whole world of people that want to take advantage of you. And no other than women will come and take advantage of you. And our guy here, he lets it happen. But fortunately, you'll see he's working real hard to get back on track. And I really want to help him. So lots of lessons here about focusing on your purpose, your grind, and all that. Commanding respect. And not to mention the fact also, guys, is that, as you're aware, if you see a girl that comes from a train wreck of a family, it's not her fault. But don't be the guy to save her, because that's going to impact you, guaranteed, amongst many other things. So there's a longer story, as you can clearly see, and this guy makes lots of mistakes. I'm advance warning here, but he's young, and I really want to help him out. And in the end, you'll see, our guy's on the right path. He says, "Dear SSM, I hope you're doing well. I have an ongoing story to tell, or more like advice, or just to know that there are men out there who are currently going through hard times and pulling through to eventually come out on top. Before I start my story, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I'm 21 years old, living in the South. I come from a very poor family, and I have 6 siblings. I attended college and went for an arts degree, but dropped out during my second year because I knew that art majors don't make much money. Well, I'm glad you got out of that, and yes, the odds are you were not going to make much money and have a big debt load. Well, good for you, but we got to get you on track for the right career path. None of the names in this story of anybody is real, just so you know. But for this story, you can call me Zach. Not my real name, of course, and my soon-to-be ex, Rachel. I apologize for any grammar mistakes. English is my first language. I just suck at writing." Well, that could be something you could work on, because you need to obviously write and speak well if you're going to have any kind of career or success in life. Anyhow. Well, like most guys, I never got much attention from the ladies growing up, and when I did, I was playing 3 degrees late from elementary to 7th grade. This, along with other factors, made me terrified of dating in person. So I dated online, which didn't go so well, and caused me to give up on dating for my entire high school life. Are you saying you were doing online dating in high school? Do they do that now? That young? But okay. This changed a little bit when I got to college and started working. I began taking the R pill around this time, and I graduated high school, and slowly but surely started talking to girls. Well, you may have started listening to and taking in R pill content, but you have a lot of work to do, my man. But that's okay. You're on your journey. Well, I went out as often as possible, which really helped me get into better shape going to the gym and all than I ever been in. I was skinny growing up, and I still am, but I'm a little bit more lean. I even got a mentor to help me out dating and approaching women and being on my purpose, which helped until I could no longer afford him. I built the courage to approach and talk to women, asking for their phone numbers. Mostly didn't go anywhere, but some did. Okay, you're making progress. That's all you can do. But look, And as I said at the beginning of the story, this guy was dealt a bad hand in life. He comes from a really crappy family on multiple fronts. It's so bad that his youngest sister would end up in foster care, which can happen. You can have a family where they have children, but some of the kids end up going in foster care because mom and dad, or usually the single mom, isn't doing a very good job or is in a bad situation. And it's understandable, a lot of what we're going to get into, and you don't have a father figure. But at least you're taking steps to improve yourself. And by the way, not every girl you're going to ask out is going to be into you, but some will be. Well, I met Rachel through one of my sisters. Let's call my sister April. April, who's 17 years old at the time, and Rachel were in foster care and lived in the same house. And April showed Rachel a picture of me from when I was there during a visit of my mom and siblings. Well, one day, April asked me if I was single and then sent me a picture of Rachel. During this time, I was casually talking to a girl and told my sister I was single. I don't like this. You don't want to have your sister fixing you up with her friends, not to mention a girl she lives with. Obviously, April, the younger sister, is in foster care because things are bad with his mom. He was visiting her. That's my interpretation of this. And this Rachel girl was in the same house with her. I had a girlfriend in late high school and college whose mom did foster care, had a bunch of girls, usually teenagers and stuff like that. And they came from a lot of bad backgrounds. And what you're going to learn is not going to surprise you. Well, Rachel and I started talking over video calls and texting. I was working 2 jobs at the time and didn't make too much of an effort to text her, often taking my time texting her back and hooking up with the other girl that I was talking to. There'd be times where Rachel would text me and I would take so much time to get back to her that I would forget about it, and my sister would tell me to text her. This went on for a while until one day during a video call I learned that Rachel could cook. Well. Now you know she can cook, now you'll respond to her within, a reasonable time frame. So I want to point something out here, guys, in case you haven't picked up on it already. This guy, he's busy, working 2 jobs because he's out of school, because he's no longer in school, no clear direction where he's going. He is hooking up with some other girl. So, this Rachel chick, he hasn't even met her yet. He takes his time to respond to her. She's not a high priority. And yet she keeps chasing after him. You understand how this works here. Well, this had gotten my attention about her cooking, and I also learned that she had daddy issues, as she grew up in an abusive household with 2 drug-addicted parents and her little brother. She was in foster care to get away from her bad father, who did a lot of bad things to her and her mother. Knowing what I know about the R pill, this was a big red flag, and made me not want to take her seriously, but I did for 2 reasons. So here we go. So right there, he did learn some stuff observing R pill content. Don't get involved with the damaged girls. I say this all the time. All the time, because it's going to come back into your life. It's not these young girls' fault that they come from screwed up families. It's not. But usually they get so messed up over this, and I have observed girls like this, that once they become adults, there's no going back. And it's just drama. You don't need that in your life. But our guy here is going to find reasons to justify staying in communication with her. Well, one of the reasons was because my sister introduced me to her, and they were friends. So I assume my sister had already vetted her. Smack! You assume wrong, my friend. Your sister also comes from your messed up family. So your sister, probably in her mind, she's thinking, my brother here can help you because he's a good guy. Don't let your sister fix you up with her friends. Number 2, because she said she doesn't talk to multiple people at once. Something I didn't believe at first until we spent a lot of time on video calls. When my casual relationship with the other girl ended, I decided not to talk to any more girls and to just talk to Rachel, who I thought was different. The biggest lie any man can tell themselves about a woman. As she was shy, quiet when we first met, and seemed kind of soft and kind when we were talking. Well, anybody can put up an act for a while. Well, fast forward to Valentine's Day 2024. I was so convinced that she was different than the other women I talked to, I took an Uber from my city to where she and my sister lived. I didn't own a car at the time, and when we met in person for the first time, I'll admit I was nervous, but in the end, we hooked up 2 or 3 times in her bed before my sister came home. Oh, to be young. 20 years old, 21 years old, young, dumb, and full of cum that, Well, okay, you got some ass. But this isn't the type you make your girlfriend, given her background and all that, and that you never actually been on a date yet. Yeah, you talk through video calls and you're already hooking up multiple times. Yeah, this is when you keep on layaway for fun and fun only. I knew this was another red flag, but I thought she was different. Smack. No, you just like getting laid. So I shrugged it off. So me, Rachel, and April's boyfriend went on a double date to the Golden Corral and had a great time. And on the 15th, I made it official and asked her out. Smack, you mean official like she's your girlfriend. Man, nothing can, unleash romance than a double date to the Golden Corral. What about Cracker Barrel, even though they have the different logo? That whole logo fiasco, Cracker Barrel, does that ignite a lot of love too? Or Waffle House? On the 16th, I ended up leaving and we began our long-distance relationship. Smack! Why couldn't you have a relationship with a chick nearby? And especially why this girl? I think because you come from a troubled background, this is what you're used to. That's what I think. A lot of guys end up with women that are like their mothers. And your mother's obviously got her issues. Well, I continued on life as normal, but I texted her more and was no longer taking my time responding. Eventually, I became the one that would reach out and talk through our video calls, and the video calls would go from every day to every few days. She started becoming the one taking her time responding to me, and I told her multiple times how I hated that and when she did that, but it never stopped. Notice what happened here? Initially, she was the one pursuing him, and because he was busy working 2 jobs and he had another chick he was banging, he got back to her when he could. It was no rush. He was indifferent, low priority. Now that he hooked up with her a few times and they became official, now he's doing all the reaching out to her, all the chasing, all the pursuing. And she's taking her time to get back to him because he's no longer a challenge. He no longer gives her the butterflies, no longer a mystery. She's got him. See? This is why, guys, let them pursue you. Ay. But you say you learned a lot of this. This part kind of goes more into pickup type of stuff, but this is all valuable for guys out there that you can be totally R-pilled, if you will, and no relationships, going your own way, whatever. But a lot of guys out there have R-pill knowledge where they still date and hook up and all that. And that comes from the pickup type of learning and teaching, but still, it's valuable. Let them do the pursuing. You can ask them out, but all the texting and calls and all that shit, and let them do that. You gotta be busy. You're acting like a girl. Well, thinking back on it, that was one of my many mistakes as I started getting an idea of this. And it was the case. So I focused a bit more on the gym and working, as this was around the time that I had dropped out of college. Well, man, one of the problems you have, and I'll come back to this later, is you have no direction, no sense of purpose. And when a man doesn't have a direction, a sense of purpose where he's going in life, he makes mistakes. He has a low self-worth. And this is why, in my opinion, why you make a lot of the mistakes that you do. And we're going to get you back on track at the end of the story. Well, Rachel entered a program to get her own apartment, and we talked about moving in together. Smack! How dumb is that? So these foster programs and working with the state usually helps these young gals when they become of legal age, 18, 19 or so, to get their own apartment, assisted living, that type of thing. Another mistake I thought was a good idea, but I figured it was better than living with my mom, who was always asking for money. Before we could move in together, she told me to hold off as she didn't know if the program, would allow me to live with her since this was an independent program. So I stayed living with my mom, and she moved into her apartment in April 2024. Well, she moved closer to me, but still a city away, and wanted me to come over and visit her. And I made an effort to visit her every other week. Our relationship continued to change as we went from having you-know-what multiple times a day, which was short-lived, once whenever I came over, but I understood since she was working and claimed to have a low sex drive. Yeah, that's what they all claim, the low sex drive, when you find out they're having quite the high sex drive with somebody else. Bro, why are you with this chick? But again, connect the dots here. You have no sense of purpose. You don't know where you're going in life, and you have no direction. And you're falling back to the kind of the background you were raised in. Well, one day I came over to visit, and she told me that she has something crazy to ask me, and told me about a friend of hers who lived in a facility for foster girls, and she had run away. I thought about it and couldn't think of a reason to say no at the time, and so Rachel and I went to get her friend, we'll call Rebecca. Another huge mistake amongst the many I've already made. Rebecca and I didn't talk much at first, but never went away. She never went away. I'd learned previously that Rebecca and Rachel had sex with each other before they were in the foster facility together, but Rachel claimed she was drunk at the time. You do not see a problem with this? You do not see a problem with Rachel? Rachel and now Rebecca? Again, this actually will happen in group home, foster care situations. I mean, like I said, I had firsthand experience with this because a girlfriend I had for a number of years in college, her mom did the foster care, a bunch of teenage girls that were hormonal, and some of those girls, even though they were foster sisters, and I'm using that in quotes, they would regularly hook up. No joke. And you're going to go be in the middle of this? Fast forward a little bit in time before I moved in with Rachel and Rebecca. Rachel had quit her job because a coworker wanted her to help more during a rush. At home, my mom and I were not on good terms, and I came home to her yelling in the other room. I listened out of curiosity and realized it was my mom's boyfriend being angry about how I am towards my mom and saying how I act like I was always on my period, basically calling me a girl, to put it lightly. For context, because of some events growing up that happened to my siblings, I held some resentment towards my mom and didn't want to talk to her very much, but I was kind of respectful to her boyfriend and respectful to my mom. I spent most of my time in my room working or being gone from the house. I thought to myself and debated on whether I should confront him or not. Long story short, I confronted her boyfriend and I wanted to take a swing at him, but I felt like my mom would call the police and have me removed from the house. So your mom would call the police on you, not him. And let me guess, your mom probably had a never-ending rotation of boyfriends, lowlives coming in and out, huh? Growing up, my siblings and I, and the older three, at least know that my mom will choose a man over her children, so I knew the risk wasn't worth it, and didn't want to risk going to jail. Again, you were dealt a bad hand in life, and it's not your fault, but you are a man now, and you can rise above all this shit. And hence you can see why his sister April ended up in foster care, because mom's a bad mom. Shortly after my mom told me to find my own place, I told my sister April, and April told Rachel. Rachel wanted me to come live with her, but thanks to my auntie, my mom changed her mind about putting me out, but if she didn't, if she could tell me to leave, once she would do it again, and surely she did. I didn't take Rachel's offer the first time, but the second time when my mom told me that I might as well move out, since I often spent so much time over there anyway, it wasn't working. By the way, bear with me, guys, because, he admitted his writing isn't so good. You need to work on your writing. Man, I'm doing my best here. I did do some editing, but there's only so much I could do. I knew it was only a matter of time before she tells me to leave again, and I ended up moving out and moving in with Rachel and Rebecca. Smack! There weren't any other living arrangements you could have made? Any bros, anybody like that? That you're living with, your train wreck girlfriend and her friend who she used to regularly hook up with? Let's see how this goes. Rachel kept going from working to unemployed, leaving jobs for multiple reasons, spending more time unemployed than employed, and Rebecca worked one job, got fired with Rachel, and hasn't worked since sometime last year. Oh, so who's paying the bills? Let me guess. That left me as the only one paying almost for everything. Smack! That's probably why they wanted you to move in with them. And due to Rachel's program, rent went from being cheap to getting expensive, leaving me to kill my savings, along with some terrible financial decisions, and leaving me with not a lot left over after each check. Tell your fucking girlfriend and her friend to get off their asses and go work. But remember, a lot of guys moving with their girlfriend and who are in varying degrees train wrecks, and the girl's like, oh, I pay in my own way. I needed both Rebecca and Rachel to work, and when I brought that up, nothing changed. Why would things change? Because they have no respect for you. There would be times where I would want to tell them both that I'm paying a portion of the rent, and they would have to come up with the rest, but I didn't because I didn't want to risk going homeless with them. So you were just a whipped puppy taking it. And of course, they're treating you like a little bitch. You act like a bitch, guys, you got treated like a bitch. And this guy's being treated like a bitch. Because you didn't act like this initially when you first met Rachel, but you got hooked on her, started showing weakness, and this is what you get. But I think this is who she is. I even thought about threatening to put Rebecca out, but it was Rachel's apartment, so I felt like I didn't have the power while Rachel was being praised by her program for being the only one to pay her rent on time. It irritates me knowing that the only reason she stayed in that apartment for more than even 2 months was because of me. As life went on, I learned more and more about what it was like living with Rachel. Let me guess, it sucked. Also, I might add, this is what happens also when you go on your girlfriend's turf. If you're going to move in with your girlfriend, make sure you've known her for a long time and you think you want to marry her because that's the only real reason, and you pick out a place together. She comes to your place. You went on her turf. Bad idea. Well, things were better when she was working. There was one time when I asked her to season some chicken for me because I was going to cook, and when I got off a double shift at work, I got home, and that night she'd never done anything because she and Rebecca were investigating some paranormal BS. I thought to tell her right then and there to not do something like that, but I did not. Smack! So you're being disrespected and taken advantage of, but you don't have the balls to stand up for yourself, thinking you're going to be kicked out. And yet, they'd be kicked out if you weren't there paying the bills. I didn't feel like arguing, and she continued being at home all day and mostly not doing anything, or doing anything I asked her to do. Just to be clear, I'm also lazy, but I didn't find it fair that I was working, and that since she couldn't find the time of day to cook something or wash clothes. Since I had moved, I'd fallen off hard. I wasn't and still am not consistent at the gym, and I lost my path in life and no longer know what career I want to go into. This is your problem, because you lost your path in life. And this is why a guy has to have a purpose, guys. You got to know what you want to do, otherwise you feel lost. And when you feel lost, you don't feel like a man, and you're susceptible to people taking advantage of you. Not to mention this guy has a bad family, and, can't rely on them. It's a mess. But man, your situation is different compared to all the guys that grew up in good families and behave like jackasses. And by the way, guys, I know many of you are probably frustrated at this point, but remember, he is 21, or 20 at the time when all this shit was going on, and no real background, so we're going to help him. Because of rent getting increasingly high and not being able to afford another apartment, we ended up moving in with her mom and her mom's boyfriend, Jack. Rebecca had moved out to go live with her family in another state, but moved back in with us a month later and still hasn't gotten a job. Yeah, these are such winners. So you went back to move in with your girlfriend's mom, who obviously was such a bad mother and a bad background that the girl had to move out and go into foster care because the same mother, both were addicted to drugs and all that. Oh, great. Well, fast forward again to a week before the day the one thing I was looking out for happened. I was in my room playing a game when Rachel came into the room, and she said she wanted to talk. She told me she wanted to go to the club and that she didn't want either of us to hold each other back. Aha. Translation, she wants a pass to go do what she wants. Her perception of you is you're so weak because, let's be honest, you've been a pushover, that she can get a free pass, a hall pass, to be at a club and not be held back. I took that as a breakup and told her that she can go to the club if she wanted to, but she couldn't be with me, as in a relationship with me. I told some of my friends, my older sister and my little sister, and April that we had broken up. April went and talked to Rachel and told me that Rachel didn't want to break up and came up with an alternative plan, which was for Rachel to hang with April and her now husband and their friends. I told my older sister that Rachel and I would not get back together, but she said that you would. Well, she was right, and we did, only because of April's alternative solution. Smack! Dude, what the hell's the matter with you? She basically is asking you permission to cheat, to have an open relationship. And now you're getting back with her? But again, a guy with no sense of purpose, a guy with no sense of self-worth. This is what guys do when they don't have that. This is why I work hard to encourage guys to work hard, to find a purpose. I know I keep saying this, and I'm probably driving you crazy, but I can't stress this enough. Well, that turned out to be a mistake. Big surprise. As a week later, I saw something that still burned into my mind today. I check Rachel's phone every once in a while. From all the mistakes I've made and things I've learned from you and all the R-pill content that flew out the window, there was one thing I never forgot. If she cheats, you must leave. And cheated, she did. One night right before we were about to have you-know-what, Rachel left the room to do something, and I checked her phone and noticed a photo that I've never seen before. There you go. All the mysteries of the world can be found on your girlfriend or wife's phone. It felt unlike Rachel, so I continued to look through her phone, opened up Snapchat, and saw a group chat that was on silent. It was between Rachel, Rebecca, and her stepdad, Jack. Here we go. Secret conversation with Rachel, Rebecca, and Rachel's stepdad. And remember her mother who's addicted to drugs and probably has constant guys coming in and out? When I looked through it, I saw photos of Rachel and Rebecca naked and making all kinds of poses. I started to have what felt like a bit of a panic attack, and I started shaking uncontrollably as I saw each photo and a dick pic from Rachel's stepdad. There you go. This great girl he thought was so amazing, and got involved because she could cook. This is who she is. This is why you should have broken up with her, but in your mind, you had no place to go. I looked at the conversation between Rachel and her stepdad and saw more explicit photos and videos that she'd never sent me, and some photos that she had. I wanted to blow up on her right then and there, but I didn't, as I tried to play the long game and pretend like I never knew when she returned, and I acted like nothing happened as best I could, and we hooked up and it felt completely different. Smack! After all that, you're still hooking up with her? Now, if you're playing the long game for your escape because you have no other alternatives, I can kind of see where you're going, and also you're young and don't know what to do. But my God, man, the problem is you can't go back home. Well, you can go back home with your mom, but that's a big, giant, drama-filled train wreck, so that's a bad idea. But there's got to be some place to go. Some bro you can hang out with while you get your shit together. But you're going to see, guys, our guy's going to try to play a long game here. Well, I tried to hold it all together and silently prepare for an exit strategy with my friend Jerry, someone I used to consider my best friend, but I could not hold it all in. The more I kept quiet, the more disrespected I felt, and the more I felt like I was a bitch for not saying anything. And I went on a break and started driving home while on the phone with Jerry. I was ready to blow up at Rachel, but Jerry stopped me and told me to wait for him to get there. If you're going to blow up at a girl, yell at her and all that, you better have a witness or something recording nowadays. For a little more context, Jerry lived in a different city and drove an hour plus to my job and waited for me to get there. Jerry sounds like a good friend. Maybe it's time to move to live with Jerry. We drove to my place and acted like everything was fine, but agreed to secretly record the conversation in case anything went wrong. Very smart. So you learned that from watching this content. I eventually went upstairs and confronted Rachel. It was a surprisingly clean conversation, but it felt like she didn't care when she claimed she was just good at hiding her emotions. Now she's indifferent. She doesn't give a shit. By the end of the conversation, I stayed, but decided to play like everything was fine until I saved enough money and left. I didn't dump her on the spot like I wanted to because I felt like I could be put out and I have nowhere else to go. I played my part, tried saving up money, failed, but then kept saving up and kept playing my part for months until today. He says, update September 6th. So this is today when he wrote me. This dude got lucky. He wrote me and I happened to see it right at the top of the email chain, or the email list, and I'm doing it. Today is the day I can say that I broke up with Rachel. Thank the Lord. I cannot believe you stayed there this long, but you felt like you had nowhere else to go. You had to save up money to escape. Fine. I've not moved out yet, but I broke up with her yesterday because, surprise, surprise, thanks to my sister learning that Rachel slept with her stepdad, not only once, but twice, or more than she's telling me. My sister learned this, and when Rebecca admitted to her while they were both drunk, and from watching SSM, I know that it was probably more than twice. I guarantee you, your girlfriend, or your now ex-girlfriend Rachel, was cheating on you left and right with her stepdad, and probably other guys all along. And again, your sister's the one that introduced you to her, so never involve your sister April with anything like this ever again. According to her mother, to her mom, Rachel's stepdad claims he was blacked out and doesn't remember, but to be honest, I don't care. What a load of crap. I felt like a weight has been lifted off my shoulders. I feel free and I don't have to spend another dime on her again. I'm now living in their spare bedroom, still saving up money, and have cheaper rent since I'm only paying for myself. Why the hell? I can't believe you're still there in this. What I'm about to say next is close enough for karma. Jack, her stepdad, ended up going to prison for something involving a minor. He also slept with Rebecca and Rachel's mom, and then she's the one that threw him out. She's supposed to be coming by today to get her things. Oh, she threw them out. How interesting. And you're still there? This whole thing is just a reminder to me that I'm still an ignorant, nice guy, but I hope I can learn to adopt some of the habits and moves of the bad boy, minus the cheating and sleeping with someone's wife and girlfriend. My plan right now is to take it one day at a time and continue saving to move out. I still don't know what career I want to go down, but I'm torn between nursing, oh God, apparently they make $90,000 a year, or trade like HVAC. This is already long, but I have one more question. What mistakes did I miss that I'm not aware of, and how do I command more respect? Is it as simple as getting on my purpose, or is there more to it? Well, bro, okay, so guys, I know a lot of you have been frustrated hearing this thing, but remember, he's 21. A lot of the shit he did when he was 20, and you heard his background. I've known young folks that were in bad situations like this, in and out of foster care. They're in a tough situation. Their lives are a fucking mess. And those that get their lives together, it's pretty impressive. Bro, let me say this. It is not your fault the hand you were dealt with your family. It's not your fault. And frankly, it's not Rachel's fault the hand she was dealt with. But as adults, it is your fault how you act, and in some extent how you behave in the world. You also don't have, obviously, you didn't mention anything about a father. So you didn't have a father to give you good guidance. You had the mess that was your family, and you're doing your best. Fine. As a 21-year-old, you're a man now, so you got to do what you got to do to take care of yourself. Where your life goes is all on you. All right? Yes, you made lots of mistakes. You should never have gotten involved with Rachel. It was a terrible idea. You knew her family was a big, giant mess. But I honestly think because that's what you grew up in, a family that was a mess, that's what you're used to. You have to get rid of that mindset, okay? I talk about all the time, if a girl you're involved with comes from a screwed up family, it's going to mess her up. It's going to mess up your relationship. So don't do it. I don't care how good she can cook. I don't care how warm she is on the video chats. I don't care that she fucked you 3 times the first day you met. That's great. But I'm sure you can get other girls. Because otherwise, drama central. You also learn what happens when all of a sudden you went from the one being pursued to being the guy that's doing all the chasing. You start acting like the girl. Look how that turned her off and how she behaved. Now, I think her actions were always who she was, but that's going to turn off any woman. What else? Where else did you go wrong? Moving in with her. I know you didn't want to get out of your living situation with your mom, but still, you said you had a friend named Jerry. Now, did Jerry come along later? You could have been with somebody else. So moving in with her, and then you were the one paying all the bills. I knew that was going to happen before you even said it, because that's why they wanted you to move in. They took advantage of it. You never stood up for yourself. But at the end of the day, all these mistakes, there's plenty more, came from, in my opinion, lacking self-worth, lacking self-esteem. And a lot of that comes from when you have no purpose. You say you dropped out of college because you realized majoring in art was not the smartest decision. Well, good for you. But I didn't hear anything about you getting on figuring out what you want to do and working towards that every day. Because it sounds like you were just busting your ass at 2 jobs just enough to get by. Okay? So what I think you need to do, man, is really brainstorm as to what you want to pursue in life. And I know it's difficult because a lot of people don't know right away. Unless you have some burning desire to be a nurse, I think that's a terrible idea because you're going to rack up a lot of debt to do that, and amongst many other things. And, there are male nurses out there, and I've encountered male nurses, and they were good guys and knew their shit. But still, you all know what goes on in that field, and I worry that you could be attracted and drawn to some of these scumbag female nurses, and you know where that's going. But I think you ought to really consider a solid trade. You mentioned, as an example, HVAC. Look, guys, the reality is you can do very well in a good, solid trade. AI ain't going to replace the trade anytime soon. Eventually, they'll use the AI in fucking robots, and they'll start doing trades, but I think you got some time there. You won't have a giant amount of student loans all that holding you down. Perhaps you should get a job in some kind of solid trade and seeing how you like it. There's an idea. Or talk to people that you might know, somebody that you know that is involved in various trades. Just in the last week and a half, I had 3 different guys from different trades come out to my house because of various problems. When it rains, it pours, So, and they all make good money. I know because I pay their fucking bills. So, I would explore that option instead of nursing and get yourself on something that you're working towards. And I think by you having a goal again and knowing where you're going and working towards that, you're going to feel better about yourself. You won't feel lost. And when you don't feel lost, you'll have a better self-esteem, feeling good, and you won't be susceptible to be taken advantage of by women like Rachel. That's what I think. And so if you can get out of this situation, you should not be living. I can't imagine the hell it is living there with her freaking mom running out of room, and Rachel's there in a lot of fucking drama. But what's done is done. If you can maybe move in with your buddy Jerry, there's an option. Or maybe Jerry can recommend somebody he knows, or you can find somebody that's looking for a roommate, a guy, and meet and interview over a coffee, and maybe you find a roommate, move in with that person while you're working on things. But you got to get out of there, man. But if you have to get money, obviously to rent a place, you need to have the first month's rent. and the security deposit, maybe the last month's rent, and other money for various things. Fine, do what you got to do, but get out of there as soon as possible. And then go from there. And again, what's keeping you living that specific location? Your buddy Jerry can hopefully help you out. Maybe you can go live where he's living. Even if you don't live with him, again, maybe you could look for a roommate. Put out an advertisement for various things for a roommate and see what happens. But you can't stay there much longer. And at the same time, again, focus on what you want to do in this life. Maybe get a job in some kind of trade, see how you like it, and go from there. And I think by doing all that, you're going to feel a lot better. I know there's a weight off your shoulders by breaking up with Rachel, but she's still around you, and this ain't good. And you need to cut off once you move out, you need to cut off all contact with her. Never contact her again, take her calls or messages, because she'll rope you back in. And I want you to really evaluate why you were just being a whip puppy and such a pushover to her and the other girl and all that. It's not the way to be. I think once you find your purpose and what you want to be and you're working towards it, then that won't happen as much. But you got to be careful. I also think you need to immerse yourself in this type of content so you don't make this mistake again. It's one thing that you can watch our pill videos and learn things about that various subject. It's another thing to put them into practice. And once a pretty girl comes along, for a lot of guys, it goes in one ear and out the other, thinking she's different. Wrong. So that's what I think, man. You've been through a hell of a lot, and, again, you had obviously no father around to give you good advice. Your home life situation with your family is a big fucking mess. That's not your fault. But you have it in you to take your life in a different direction. I really believe in you. You made mistakes. I smacked you. You knew I was going to smack you. But it's tough love. And I really wish you the best, my man. So do what you got to do to get out of there as fast as possible. Talk to your buddy Jerry. Do what you got to do. Look into these trades and go from there. And I think you're going to be all right once you really find a path. And yes, join a gym, or if you're a member of a gym, start going back twice a week. Hit the full body twice a week. You'll feel better by working out. So there you go, guys. Lots of lessons in this story. All right, guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. And, guys, you got a good story you want to share, send it my way, strongsuccessfulmale@gmail.com. And if it's a good one, I'll definitely cover it. And also, guys, by all means, comment on this video. Let this young guy, I know you want to smack him in the comment section, but give him some good advice to hopefully help this young guy out. It'd be one thing if this was a guy writing in who's 35 years old, but this guy's young. He's 21. So hopefully we can help him. And be sure to like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.